Right now, Western alienation still simmers in Canadian politics, with resource-rich provinces demanding greater autonomy and fairer treatment from Ottawa. Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith regularly clashes with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau over energy policy, accusing the federal government of once again targeting the West's economic lifeline. These aren't isolated squabbles. They're the latest chapter in a decades-old conflict that has shaped Canada's political landscape. And to understand why the West feels so aggrieved today, we have to go back to a single policy that, in the words of many, broke the nation's trust. Imagine a flickering TV screen from the 1980s. The words National Energy Program appearing in blocky text over a grainy image. That's where our story begins. A policy so controversial it still evokes strong emotions in Alberta. The NEP was announced in October 1980 by Prime Minister Pierre Trudeau's Liberal government, a plan designed to achieve energy self-sufficiency and protect Canadians from volatile oil prices. But for Westerners, it felt like a declaration of war on their economic future. We see Pierre Trudeau at the dispatch box, speaking with conviction as a headline flashes. NEP announced October 1980. He argued that Canada needed to secure its own energy supply and ensure that all Canadians, especially those in the East, wouldn't be at the mercy of foreign oil shocks. To do this, the government would impose a blended pricing system, new taxes, and a controversial Canadianization policy. But what sounded fair in Ottawa felt like a betrayal in Calgary. Here's the core mechanism. A barrel of domestic oil would be sold at 75% of the world price. So if world oil was $100, Canadian oil was $75. That price gap, shown with a red arrow pointing down, meant that Western producers were forced to subsidize Eastern consumers. The federal government also introduced new taxes like the Petroleum and Gas Revenue Tax, which took 8% of gross revenues, later increased to 12%. The result? Alberta lost an estimated $50 to $100 billion in revenue over the program's life. But the most explosive part of the NEP was the back-end provision. Picture a hand pulling a contract from pile, stamped in red, 25% back-end. This allowed the federal government to retroactively claim a 25% stake in all oil and gas rights on federal lands, known as Canada lands, without any compensation to the companies that already held those rights. It was effectively an expropriation of private property, a move that sent shockwaves through the industry. Consider the case of Gulf Canada. The company had invested millions exploring for oil in the Beaufort Sea, but under the NEP's back end, it was forced to hand over a 25% stake in those drilling rights to Petro-Canada, the federal crown corporation, with zero payment. A no compensation stamp appears over a quarter of the map. This wasn't just a tax hike, it was the government taking ownership of private assets. For Westerners, it confirmed that Ottawa saw the West as a colony to be exploited. The outrage boiled over. Imagine a close-up of a newspaper headline: Ottawa seizes oil rights, in a shocked reader's face. Across Alberta, people felt robbed. The NEP triggered a political firestorm. Support for Western separation surged, with a 1982 poll showing 25% of Albertans backing secession. This was the birth of modern Western alienation, a deep wound that would eventually spawn the Reform Party and reshape Canadian federal politics.
The hardest part is worrying about how am I going to support my family? And where is it going to go from here?
Alberta is now the one that's taking the hits, so how can the rest of Canada now come to our help?
But the NEP didn't just cap prices. It also introduced new taxes that landed directly on oil producers. The Petroleum and Gas Revenue Tax, or PGRT, started at 8% of gross revenues, then jumped to 12%. That might sound like a small shift, but for a company pumping millions of barrels a year, it meant millions of dollars in extra payments to Ottawa, not to the province. Before the NEP, the federal government took about 10 cents of every dollar from oil and gas revenues. After the NEP, that share ballooned to 25 cents. Alberta's own slice of the pie shrank accordingly. It was a direct transfer of wealth from the West to the federal treasury, moving money from the oil patch to fund programs that mostly helped Eastern Canada. All told, Alberta lost an estimated $50 to $100 billion in revenue between 1980 and 1986 because of the NEP. To put that in perspective, in 1980, Alberta's entire provincial budget was about $5 billion. So we're talking the equivalent of 10 to 20 years of the province's entire spending gone. It was like someone walked into the province's bank account and drained it. With lower prices and higher taxes, companies stopped investing in new wells. Oil and gas investment in Alberta plummeted by over 40% between 1980 and 1982. Rig counts tell the story. Drilling rig utilization dropped from 80% to under 30%. Whole fields sat idle. The boom towns that had sprung up around oil finds turned into ghost towns almost overnight. Picture this. In 1980, 8 out of 10 drilling rigs were active, humming night and day. By 1982, just 3 out of 10 were turning. The rest stood silent, rusting in the prairie wind. That a 50% drop in activity in just 2 years. For the workers who depended on those rigs, it meant sudden unemployment and a scramble to find any job they could. The job losses were staggering. Employment in Alberta's oil and gas sector fell by about 25% between 1981 and 1983. Over 50,000 people lost their jobs. In Calgary, office vacancy rates went from near zero to over 20% in just 3 years. Skyscrapers stood empty. Help-wanted signs faded in windows. A city built on black gold was now facing a bust.
I don't think they understand how bad the entire economy is. They laugh at the oilfield workers because, of course, they were just rig pigs. They were overpaid criminals to begin with, and they wasted their money and they squandered their money.
So when people today blame the NEP for the 1980s oil price crash, that's not quite right. The global crash was caused by OPEC flooding the market in 1985. But the NEP magnified the pain. Alberta was already weakened by federal policy when the world price collapsed, turning a bad situation into a catastrophe. The province was hit twice, first by Ottawa, then by OPEC. The anger didn't just simmer, it erupted. By the early 1980s, bumper stickers in Calgary read, "Let the Eastern bastards freeze in the dark." Some Albertans even talked about separation. In a 1982 poll, a quarter of the province supported leaving Canada, up from near zero just a few years before. The national unity that the NEP was supposed to protect was now cracking right along the fault line of the Rockies. That crack gave birth to a new political force. In 1987, Preston Manning, son of Alberta's legendary social credit premier, stood before a crowd in Edmonton and announced the formation of the Reform Party of Canada. His message was simple. The West needed a voice that would demand equal treatment, not beg for it. The party's first policy paper called for the complete dismantling of the NEP and a new era of provincial equality. The crowd wasn't just mad, they were organized. Signs read "Fair Share for the West" and "Property Rights Matter," echoing the core grievance, that the federal government had taken their wealth without consent. These weren't abstract slogans. They were the battle cries of people who had lost jobs, homes, and futures. In Calgary alone, 50,000 oil patch workers had been laid off, and downtown office towers stood half empty, monuments to a policy that had promised prosperity and delivered ruin. But the NEP's damage wasn't just economic, it was psychological. The back-end provision, which let Ottawa claim a retroactive 25% stake in any oil discovery on federal land, felt like a betrayal of the most fundamental right. What you find, you own. Even after the NEP was formally phased out in 1986, the memory of that expropriation lingered. It was as if the government had shredded the contract between Ottawa and the West, and no amount of policy reversals could fully tape it back together. The Reform Party grew fast. By 1993, it had 152 seats in Parliament, becoming the official opposition. But the real transformation came a decade later, when Reform's successor, the Canadian Alliance, merged with the Progressive Conservatives to form the modern Conservative Party of Canada. Two puzzle pieces, one from the West, one from the old Tory establishment, clicked together. The party that emerged carried the DNA of Western alienation, its policies shaped by the trauma of the NEP.
Are you feeling part of Canada? Part of Canada? I always feel part of Canada, but billions upon billions upon billions of dollars have left our province to be soaked up in other parts of Canada.
Fast forward to today, and the echoes are unmistakable. When protesters block pipelines in British Columbia or demand an end to federal carbon taxes in Alberta, the ghost of the NEP hovers in the background. It's not just about the policy of the moment. It's about a deep-seated belief that Ottawa will always favor the East, that resource-rich provinces will be punished for their own success. The NEP may be gone, but the suspicion it bred is still very much alive. Look at a map of Canada, and you can almost see the crack. It runs from the Manitoba-Ontario border through the prairies and into the Rockies. When resource disputes flare up, whether over pipelines, carbon taxes, or equalization payments, that crack glows red. It's the scar left by the National Energy Program. A reminder that when you take property without compensation, you don't just lose revenue. You lose trust. And trust, once shattered, takes generations to rebuild. Fast forward to today, and that trauma plays out in every energy debate. Western premiers, from Ralph Klein to Danielle Smith, have channeled that same anger into demands for provincial control over resources. Conservative leaders, like Stephen Harper and now Pierre Poilievre, built their platforms on the promise of a fair deal for the West. And in Parliament, every pipeline debate, every carbon tax fight, carries the echo of 1980. Put these two images side by side. Pierre Trudeau signing the National Energy Program in 1980, and Justin Trudeau signing the carbon tax in 2019. For many Westerners, it feels like the same story. Ottawa imposing its will on the resource economy. A farmer in Saskatchewan shakes his head because he remembers what happened last time. The details are different, but the wound is the same. If this history hit home, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. These are the stories that explain why Canada feels so divided today. Next time, we'll look at another pivotal moment, the 1995 Quebec referendum and how it reshaped the country. Subscribe so you don't miss it.